Hello, and welcome to my module 3 for my social worker profile. So for this module, we worked on chapters 8 to 13, which I really appreciated learning a lot about working with women. I think that that's going to be very helpful for me personally because I think that that is a area that very much interests me with social work. And I think that having the knowledge from the textbook or the base knowledge, I guess, is really, really helpful to grow upon and to grow my knowledge later on in life. The one thing that I didn't 100% love with it is that there was no chapter about like working with men, um, which I think is really sad because personally, I would love a little bit more knowledge about working with men. Um, and especially they had covered working with women who've been assaulted. And I think that that would be really nice to have the knowledge from both sides for men who have been assaulted. And I think that that's something that we don't talk about a whole lot. As a society, and I think that's really sad. But hopefully later on I learn a little bit about it, or there's another textbook about it somewhere. I don't know. I'm excited to find out. I also really like chapter 12 and chapter 13 because that fit in really nicely with my case study, which is picture this. It covered a lot about sexuality and sexual diversity, especially and particularly the LGBTQ community. I particularly really enjoyed queer theory that they talked about because I thought that it fit in really nicely with my case study, as Andrew is a queer man, and I don't have a ton of knowledge personally about queer theory or about the LGBTQ community. So that was super, super helpful. I especially loved that they used or that they had a little bank of terminology that is preferred and terminology surrounding those topics. I love that because you can't find that um, in too many textbooks. I think that that is a super awesome addition to this textbook, and then it should be in more textbooks, especially with the Center on Disability, that chapter, how they had that terminology of talking about people before their disability. That's something that is so extremely cool to me, and I think that now that I have that knowledge, and I think that now we're working towards that as a society, I think that that's a really cool addition. And the we worked also on uh, evaluation, which I really appreciated because I'm a person that I like to set goals for myself. And I think that it's really nice to be able to work with your client and be like, hey, how is this working for you? Where do I need to improve? Where do we need to improve? What do our goals look like in the future? Are we meeting our goals? What do we need to do to fix these goals? Or what do we need to do to make sure we are reaching our goals? And I really like the idea of evaluation because I think that it's super necessary and that it allows you to grow and it shows you where you need to grow. Um, I know that I want to strive to be the best social worker I can or to best uh, grow on my path of social work. And I think that evaluations is an extremely important tool with that. I really liked that the information that we got during this module was very much client based because I think that I love learning about the theory and I really loved all of the information before it and the history. I just really like particularly the more client based and growing the tools that we're getting, if that makes sense. Because I think that these tools are going to help us down the road a lot more. Even if we don't realize it right away, I think that it's really helpful to have as many tools as we possibly can, even if they seem small. I also really enjoyed the relationship building and relationship ending section. Um, it didn't occur to me how important relationships were until I started discovering and learning a lot more about the relationship building and ending. I knew that relationships were a part of it, but it didn't strike me how much like trust and such is built within the like the beginning of the relationship and how important that is in order to fully grow with your client and get meet your goals. Which is also really funny where I think that the problem solving approach is really nice for me as well. I'm more drawn to that now that I realize that I'm a very goal centered person, and that when you're doing problem solving, it's almost like doing mini goals instead of looking at the whole picture as a whole, which can be very overwhelming for some people. I think it's really nice to go through like little goals or solving little problems and feeling better because you can see your progress and you can change it if you need to change your goal. Like if it's not, the problem solving isn't working and you're focusing on something too long, I like that you can switch that. But that is also, I think, the beauty of having the multiple approaches where if problem solving isn't working, you can look at a strengths approach, which I also really like a strengths approach. I also really like the ecological approach because I think that we are all interconnected. And I think that if I'm having a tough time at work, sometimes it's going to affect my home life. Or if I grow in my personal well being, then that's going to help me grow in my relationship with my friends or my family or anything like that. So I really do like that approach. Those are the three typically that I'm very interested in and I'm very intrigued with. But I think problem solving for me as a person is probably the one that works best. They started talking about relationship ending, which was, well, I realized it was obviously going to happen. I didn't realize how important it was in the social work path, and that relationships do need to end at some point. And I think, as sad, it can still be a happy moment that you did all this work together and that you can look from where you were to where you are now and you see the growth and you see everything that you've done together and all the things that you've learned throughout that time, the tools that you've encountered and now that you have because of your interaction with this person. So I think that it doesn't always have to be a sad moment. It can be like a little celebratory thing that you've worked so hard together and now you get to grow and you don't need this in your life anymore. Or maybe you will down the road. And I think that it's almost important not to completely close off the relationship in a way of, if I was to be needed later down the road, I am still an option. Maybe you know what, because you have done extra growth in that time, that I am not your best option. So I think that they talked about referral as well. I think that that's an important part of evaluation, evaluating if I am the correct social worker for you, or if I can best help you, or maybe a coworker of mine would be best to help you, or somebody else that I know in another sector would be able to help you better than I would. And I think that that's where evaluation comes in, and evaluating yourself as a social worker, but also evaluating what you can do for your clients. And it's not a way of being hard on yourself, or it just is realizing that maybe I am not the most perfect fit for you, or I am not your best choice. I want to help you and I want you to do very well, but I have to realize that sometimes I can't be that person for you. But I think where, once again, referral comes in really handy. So I did really like learning about this. For example, like my case study, maybe because it is such a sensitive topic on sex and sexuality, maybe Andrew isn't comfortable talking to me and would be more comfortable with a male coworker or whatever it is. And I think that that's important for me to see as a social worker, that as much as I want to help everybody and I want to make sure everybody gets the best experience, that maybe I'm not the best person for that person. And that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. And I like that. I like that I will hopefully down the road be able to recognize that sometimes I'm not the best person for somebody, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I really like that. I really liked learning that in this section. And I think, once again, ties back to evaluation. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.